All right, so this is going to be Will talking about how to git git.
Okay, you can really hear me now.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So most of the Git management stuff, I do through Visual Studio because it's just easier, than typing commands manually because that's annoying. However, there's some benefit obviously to doing that. So first of all, we have this wiki article, that's already written for basic Git management stuff. You can access it by going to the Loom4 repository and then clicking on wiki, and then on the side it just says using Git. Has a bunch of good information there. However, I'm just gonna go over this again. So when you download the board profile from Arduino, it's gonna come in it. It still has all the properties of the normal Git repository. So all you need to do is actually just open it, and you'll be able to pull recent changes and whatnot from there. In addition, this is also the spot where you want to make changes for them to actually take effect when you upload new code to a board. Because if you clone it like just through here into like a random folder or whatever, it's not gonna push the new changes.
So what branch you want to work on?
It doesn't really matter. I'm just working on one of the remote management stuff right now, but we can go to main for now.
So when would it be appropriate? I mean, you don't want to work in main, right?
No.
When would it be appropriate to like make your own branch versus work in a existing branch?
Well, that depends if you're integrating something new or not. With that said, ideally all changes should be, yeah, when you want to make a change to something, main is the most stable branch and is what the board profile is based off of. And so when you want to make a change, you should make a new branch. You can do that by just clicking on whatever the current branch is down here and just saying create new branch. Hold on, actually.
Are all of us using VS Code, or are we using the Arduino IDE for them?
If you're doing any Loom work, you have to use VS Code.
Okay, I'm in the Arduino IDE.
But yeah, but you're not modifying them.
Okay, is everyone else in VS Code? Yeah, you're in the Arduino IDE.
You should download VS Code.
We should have. Let's get Hardy set up with VS Code.
Yeah.
How about you, Casey? Do you have
I have both.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You will need both because I mean you can set up Arduino to run out of VS Code, but that's kind of annoying setup sometimes. But it is much nicer. With that said, you just click down here in main. Sorry, this side. Start over real fast. Speaking of the location where all the changes are made, it's here. So it's like saved in your local. If you go to %local app data %, this will take you to your local folder, and then Arduino 15 packages, Loom4 hardware, and whatever the current board profile version is. In this case, it's 4.5, and then libraries. And then in here, this is where all of the libraries that Loom uses are stored. And then, of course, Loom is also in here. And then, so this is the folder you want to open in VS Code for making changes and whatnot. Yeah. So to make changes, though, you're going to, because main is actually locked and you can't push through it without making a pull request from another branch. So you need to create your own branch. So we're just going to say like test for now. So now we're in a new branch and we can modify whatever we want here. So let's just say we want to go into, let's just go to this one and just add like this test. So now we've made a change to the version, and over here on the side is where your source control management is going to be located. And from there, you can, when you first open this up, it's going to have your changes here. And then when you press commit without actually staging them, it's going to like ask you if you want to auto stage changes in the future.
What is that?
Basically, right now, this change isn't technically, I mean, it is staged, but it's not. So in Git, there's, you can have changes locally that you don't push or you don't commit to the current version. And then so you could have like, if I added another file here, for example, let's just say this one, whatever. So now we have two files here. They're both normal changes right now, but if I click on the plus here, it will then stage that file to be updated. And if I then commit, if I say Loom max change or whatever and say commit, it will only commit that one file.
So you don't have to like stash things before you can get that.
Well, I mean, that's if you're changing branches and whatnot. But if you don't have anything, staged, the first time it'll ask you if you want to always do this. But if I say like, obviously you want to add better commit messages than just like added comment or whatever. Then initially there'll be a pop-up that says like, would you always, there's no stage changes or whatever, would you like to auto stage changes? I clicked always because most of the time that's what you want to do. And now you'll see up here that it doesn't say sync or anything, it says publish. And that's because this branch doesn't actually exist anywhere else other than on our computer at the current stage. So if we want to actually push it to GitHub so that we can see it and actually like update the changes there, you have to actually upstream the branch by just clicking that. And now if we go and look at the GitHub, you'll see if I click on branches that there's a new branch called test here. And with the changes there, so you can like, and if you want to see what the changes are, you can just go in here and then say boom, and it will show you what the changes are off of the main. So we can see the first one and then the second one up here.
Is there a way to see those diffs a little better? Instead of just kind of looking at what changed in each file?
I mean, that is the diff. You can say view file, but that will show you the current version.
I see. It's not a way to see the old code.
Well, there is. This is the new code here. The pluses and the green denote an addition, whereas if I go back here and then remove this line, and then commit that again, sync it. So when you sync them here, that's basically just means pushing the changes. It does a poll first to make sure that you're up to date with the current version. You can also do that from down here. There's a little like circular arrow thing that will do the same thing. But now if we go back here and then say refresh, we have this new one, and then we can see that since I deleted the other one, it's gone. There's no change here because it's back to what it was before. And you can look at it differently too. But yeah,
there's a split.
Yeah, you can do that too. Split. But that's not super critical. Another useful thing. So, general VS Code thing. If you press Control Shift P, it'll open this window. Whereas if you just press Control P, I think it is, or yeah, it'll just, this is like a normal file search, but if you add the greater than symbol, it treats whatever you put after it as a command. And so in this case, we can run like, let's say, it's not going to do anything right now, but you can, from here, you can delete branches, you can stash, which basically will just store, if you're working on something, right, and you don't want to commit your changes yet, oftentimes it's not a huge deal if you want to commit your changes to just not push them, because committed changes will still be there if you switch branches. But for whatever reason, if you don't want to commit them, you can create a stash, which will it'll ask you for a name. There's only the stash right now, but it'll ask you for a name to name it, and then it will then basically save those changes somewhere else. So then you can switch branches and go work on something else, and then come back, and then you would do like pop stash or whatever, and it would revert the changes back to where they were before when you made the stash initially. But you can also just commit it and not push, which also works.
So committing, I thought committing does push it to GitHub.
No.
So what's commit?
So a commit is you're basically saying that I want to update these files, right?
Mhm.
But it's a local thing.
Oh, it's on your local.
When you push, that's when your commits get pushed to the remote.
Right.
In this case, GitHub, the remote like management service.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Another useful command, if you have a bunch of branches that are like just chilling here that we don't even use anymore, or like have been deleted, you can just go here and then say git fetch. And basically what this does is it will update the list of branches that are on your current version. And if you have ones that have been deleted on GitHub, you're actually going to want to run this first one, which will just prune the branches that don't actually exist anymore. And it'll clean up your repository down here. And then, of course, if you open this menu again, let's say I want to go back to main, all you have to do is just click main, and it will switch back to the current version before. So we'll see that the comments and whatnot are gone in both versions. Yeah.
So when you commit, it will only save locally, like it won't.
Yeah.
You won't see it on the GitHub.
No. So like if I, let's say I go back to this, and I just say test commit to true. I have to make a change actually. And I say commit. And then you see it says sync changes. So if I go to GitHub now and refresh, it's not there. And then actually at this point I can go here and go like that. So now I'm on main again, but I can go back to test, and that it'll still be there with the change. And then I can sync it. And then only at that point does it actually show up here.
If you were to- if you wanted to make like a fast one, like with the best one, you would do that.
Yeah, so I was gonna get to that next. Pull requests are there so that you can, so you're actually, I'll show you. If I go to settings and then go to rules and rule set, actually I lied, it's not there. It's in here. Yeah. There is a branch protection rule set up right now for main. That requires a pull request that is approved by at least one person. I might change that to 2 later. But for now it's just 1. So actually if I try, I'll show you. If I try to push something to main, once again, best that will best. If I do commit and my friend say sync changes, it'll actually be like, no, you can't do that. So this is actually like an inaccurate error. Poll won't help you here. And then yeah, if you commit something and you actually want to undo it, you can just go into this menu up here and then just say commit and then undo last commit, and it'll pop back up there. And then you can unstage for changes, and then if you want to revert the file back what it was, you can click that and say discard and say enter, and then now it's gone. As for the pull requests, you do that through GitHub. So you go to your repository, you click pull requests, and then you say new pull request, and then you say, so basically your base is where you're merging the changes to, and the compare is the branch that you want to merge from. So we're gonna say test, and it'll see most of the time it should be able to automatically merge stuff. If it can't, good luck. Because you're gonna have to deal with all the merge conflicts yourself, which will not be very fun. But yeah, basically you just to make pull requests, just do that, and then just say create pull request, and then you give it a name, like test merge, but obviously better. And then you say create. Usually for good commit messages and pull request messages, you want to specify what you change. And I guess technically you're supposed to do it's a weird, like, you're supposed to write it in the present tense. So like you don't say added, you'd be like add something. It's really weird. I don't really care if you do it that way or not. Just make sure it's informative as to what you actually changed. So like don't just write added a comment or change some stuff. Be like added publish functionality in Loom or fixed whatever bug it is. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Yeah. Let me just do
So,
this.
yeah, so we got the pull request, which is basically like permission that, you're saying, like, can we push this to?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can get permission to push the other branches too, right? Or just-
Well, so you don't actually need permission. Any other branch other than main right now, you can just make changes to,
Mhm.
as long as you're added as like a contributor to Loom.
Right. Okay, so really make changes to whatever branch.
Yeah.
you're working on,
I
and
would,
then get permission once it's stable.
yeah,
Right.
I would still recommend making your own branch for different changes and whatnot. So like here, I have 3 different branches that I'm working on right now. One is the I actually finally fixed the failed to close message thing.
Yeah.
It was really stupid actually, and I hate it. But it was. I'll show you exactly what it was. This line was not there.
Mm.
And so what was happening is it was trying to copy a project parameter from the document that wasn't always there. And so in SD cards where it didn't have that parameter, it would like copy garbage data because I also hadn't set the string to be just a bunch of null characters. There's a link to the issue in question there.
Nice.
But so it's basically trying to make a topic to publish to that had like weird crap in it. And that seemed to fix it. So
This is a really good example to show the team though. So like scroll up and notice how like there was a comment that says what it is that you're doing, and then there's a link to the issue that it pertains to. That's super handy for like, developers being like, well, why the heck is this there? Right.
it's all the way down. But
So one of the big issues, because we've been working with it for like 6 years now, and this is probably like the 4th complete generation of like, as far as like nobody in this team knowing anybody from the previous team. There's like 4 turnovers, I think. So like there's so many decisions that are made that like you wouldn't even know why it's the way it is. So putting comments in that are relevant to the issue like fixing or like a direct to it is like one of the best ways I think to do that.
Yeah.
And then basically once you fix it, then you'll do a pull request to have Will or someone else who knows what they're doing, maybe even me sometime, approve the thing to make, right? That makes sense. All right, good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, this is just one example. This one is actually working on using the internet platforms to do a time synchronization with an NTP server, which required a bit of an overhaul. Actually, we now have a network component. Where is it? Activity. Yeah, now all of the different Ethernet, LTE, Wi-Fi, and stuff all derived from this network component.
great.
Which has the functionality for getting the time from whatever it is.
That's so handy.
And then and then if you go into each of these now, you'll see that there's now a. Where is it? Did I do it with the header? Yeah.
And does it automatically update the RTC time?
Yep.
And then when you're setting time, then you're still working from the RTC based modules, right?
Yeah.
So the network time is basically just gonna pull from the DS3231 one's gonna get set to the network time, but
Yeah.
everything else is still DS323 centric.
Yeah.
Great.
So we're getting off topic now.
Right,
But,
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so, and then these are all different branches off of main that have different modifications. And then so you can each pull them in independently, or you can actually, a lot of times with something like this, if you're doing a large scale thing, you probably want to make a intermediate branch where you merge all of these into one. And then from there, you can iron out your merge conflicts and whatnot to then make a clean pull request to main.
You wanna just make a merge branch while we're at it?
Sure. So I would recommend going to main and saying new branch. You can also do just create branch. You can also create branches from there like that. And then we're just gonna say merge or like NTP publish. Something like that. It doesn't matter
We
what.
could call it a melting pot or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just basically.
Yeah. And then from here we can say, so this is currently a version off of main. So we can say merge branch, and it's just if I look at this, if I go here and then I type nope here, and then you say get merge branch, and then you can pick which branch to merge from. So in this case, I'll start with this one. And thankfully that one seemingly just did it. Which a lot of the time it will, but some of the time it will freak out and cause merge conflicts and whatnot, which you can fix by going in here, and then basically it'll show you what branches, it'll say like merge changes or something like that, and then you can click the files under there, and if you scroll through them, you'll see different points where it'll say accept incoming or accept current changes, and it'll show you both of them, and then you just manually click which one you want to keep. Or you can keep both of them and then fix your code to accommodate both. But a lot of the time it'll just do it automatically, which is nice.
And when you are merging things, you're gonna need to, I mean, I'm sure GitHub is good at catching some stuff, but like, it's not gonna know if you're gonna push a breaking change like some different as far as like.
Yeah, no.
So you do wanna like.
You should always compile before you.
Always compile, always test. So you test the branches and then you merge, right?
So now we've merged this one in, and then we can this one, and okay, there. So there is, so these are all staged. So these were able to be merged automatically, which is great. This one, on the other hand, has some merge conflict somewhere in it. It'll show up down here too. You can actually just click show changes, but in this file there is few spots. Actually, you can just click this too. Resolve in merge editor, and it'll pop up this window here, where it'll show you the result of the merge down here, the incoming, and then the current. So the current is whatever your current branch is that you're on, and the incoming is whatever the branch looks like that you're trying to merge from. So we can see here that this has a modification to check if the current alarm has been triggered, and if so, we want to redo the RTC sample period so that it doesn't go to sleep without being triggered again. Which you guys were testing, or a couple of you were testing the other week.
Yeah, I probably was some testing. Did you ever get through it?
I tested it just as is, and it seemed to work. So I'm not entirely sure what went wrong
last time. We need to get together with whoever's not working.
It was me and Zach.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wait. What happened?
Well, we uploaded it, and then it would, depending on how long we set the sleep period, how long. Yeah, if the period was longer than the sample period, it would work fine. If the period was one of them was too short, it would just sample ones go to sleep and then not wake up again.
Interesting.
This is much.
I had it without a. I had one without the comment, or so I basically how I tested it was I ran it once normally with no pause on a normal like hypnosis sleep example.
Yeah.
And that worked really fine. And then I added a pause that was longer than the next interrupt, like when the next interrupt would be scheduled, and then it ran the cycle again, then it went back to sleep, and then kept waking up as normal.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
We want to stay on topic.
Yeah.
We know we got to test it for which is good
yeah.
because like
So
it might work on Will's machine in a very particular context, and that's exactly what we test because we want it to work for everybody, like for all different contexts, right?
yeah, so we'll see here that these are basically the same with another if statement added. And just one warning here. So I'm going to say except current change, and so we'll see that this updates down here with this new version. And then if we keep scrolling, that looks like it might be it actually.
So the idea is you have two different versions up top that need to be resolved, and then the bottom is going to be the resolved version.
Yeah.
Right? And
And then when you're done, you can just say complete merge, and it'll stage the change like normal. And then so it actually will often give you a preset commit message too. And that's honestly fine. You can just commit that. And so now you've merged the two branches together into one, and then you can go and create a pull request like before. Same way.
to merge in the main after that.
Yeah.
Great. All right. We had a small issue last year where we were sort of overwriting things accidentally. Like we were like working from branches and like overwriting stuff that was, I think it was like a couple of weeks worth of like things that got overwritten and had to be reprogrammed. I don't know if like anyone remembers that. Anybody remember that? Like I remember that.
I don't. I feel like I remember that.
I remember that. I think it happened.
I don't think it did.
Do you
It was
remember
only
that?
me working on it, so it would have been me.
Well, there were like various changes made to GitHub, but then like when they got committed into main, they're like reverted stuff that like used to be there. But anyways, how would we like avoid a potential situation? Like, what would be the workflow that would avoid?
You should work on your own branch.
So clone main into your own branch.
No, just make a new branch.
Just make a new branch with main.
Yeah.
Work on it,
And
and then
then-
it has to merge it, right?
Well, yeah, yeah.
Okay. What if you do a branch from main,
Mm-hmm.
you work on it for a while, but then like other people push a bunch of like new stuff to main.
Well, then that would call us merge conflict.
It
and so you
causes
have to
merge
resolve them.
conflicts.
You just resolve like oh,
You give, and so that's where that merge conflicts might have
Yeah.
happened, right?
Yeah.
It's a newer version happening since you created your branch.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does that kind of make sense, everyone? Okay, good. So do you have any, or actually, Will, did you just want to like summarize the workflow for everyone and like yeah, 4 sentences?
Sure.
And then we'll ask questions.
Making a change, create a new branch, do whatever change you need to make there. Commit. Obviously, if you're doing a larger change, you should have multiple commits. But if you're just fixing a bug, then it can be one commit if it's quick. Publish the branch, go to GitHub, pull request into main. Once it's, you should make sure it's actually stable first, though. Don't merge unstable crap into main. That's a nightmare. Main should be the solid, like long-term deployment branch. So if you merge some code into main that crashes, I'm not going to be very happy. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Makes sense. I'm sure there's been a few words here, and a few like workflow things that there's been a lot of stuff that you can do that was shown. Don't worry about like memorizing it all. Just like work with Will, to, kind of get comfortable and like, when these kinds of things come up.
Well, like the recording.
Yeah, so the recording's rolling, so I'm just gonna make that available probably on the wiki. Like, I think we'll just have links like that.
Yeah,
on the wiki.
sure.
Right. So under the wiki for the how to, did you want to go back to that link show where that's repeat?
I think right now they're in the actual README.
Go to the code,
right there.
go to README, getting started resources, and we'll tag a video right on
Yeah,
that.
those are there, and then the rest of the wiki information is under the wiki section here, which has different.
Using Git, that would also maybe be a good place for a overview video.
Yeah.
All right, great. Other questions for now? Or move to other agenda items?
I guess we have a little off topic, and we talked about it on one of the Zoom meetings, like a good summary, but what is the dev branch anyway?
Oh, nothing right now. I was originally gonna have that be our like main development branch, which honestly it still can. What we might end up doing is merge. So when you make your, I haven't really decided yet, to be perfectly honest. I would recommend, yeah, for now, just make the changes off of main. My idea was that you would have the dev branch would initially be created when a new board profile comes out, and then you would then merge all of your changes, but then you would branch off of the dev branch into the dev branch from which you could test the whole system. But that seems like it's kind of it doesn't make it very clear what the changes are that you're testing. So it's nicer to be able to make small changes in your own branch and then test those and know that those are stable. And instead of like testing everything, and then if something else doesn't work and then you're trying to diagnose something else, then it's a whole thing. But yeah.
Well, thank you, Will. Appreciate that. So who's going to be doing this probably before